can you talk to me about what kind of like side effects you were treating that you found out were just attributed to the antidepressants?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have like I don't have conclusive evidence that it was or that it was, because of these drugs. But what I do know is that I didn't have these issues before. I went on the drugs. Within a year, I had all these problems. And then when I got off these
Yeah.
drugs 15 years later, all those problems disappeared. So I was like, okay. Um, I don't know, coincidence maybe. But the first thing is I developed like hypothyroidism and all the signs of hypothyroidism. So my hair was falling out. I like was getting crazy Charlie horses at night, and then blood tests actually showed that my thyroid function was low, and so that's when they started giving me Synthroid, which is a synthetic hormone. I also developed something called bile reflux disease. This took a little while to diagnose, but it basically is like it's like acid reflux, but lower down in your GI. So your pancreas spits up all this extra bile into your stomach, and then I would just get randomly nauseous and like, be walking to school and I'd throw up on the sidewalk, and it was just like, oh.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
I
and
had something similar.
yeah,
Okay, I had something similar. It wasn't like chronic like that. It happened a couple of times when I mixed. So I was quite like the antidepressants initially when I was a kid and went on them. I can remember feeling relaxed and relief and being like, okay, I can sleep, right? Like I'm not having intrusive thoughts and all this. And I was already on immune suppressants at that point when I went on the antidepressants. But my depression was horrible the entire time. Like it didn't make it go away, and it was more intrusive. I would say the older I got, the higher, and I just went up on medication and up on medication, and then my depression got worse and worse. And I tried adding in 5-HTP, which is just it's like a herbal supplement, and I tried adding that in, and I threw up every morning for a week. I was like, what? Taking a supplement? This shouldn't just cause you like half an hour after the supplement on the way to school on the subway. It's like, up, throw up in a garbage can. What is happening? And it was like, oh, there's too much serotonin because of the 5-HTP. It's like, that's weird. But I was little, so I was like, 17. I was like, well, okay, no 5-HTP.
yeah. So it was kind of similar. I just would randomly puke, and so they put me on like a
That's
really
nice.
really heavy
That's fun.
an antacid for that. Yeah, it was so fun. And then I was nauseous all the time. Then like my skin got really bad, and so I ended up on a variety of like stuff, like either like tetracycline, which is an antibiotic, which is bizarre. Eventually I was on Accutane, like that never really went away,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I mean, again, like it's like nobody looked at what I was taking and thought combining this was a good idea. And then I also had like constant headaches and migraines, so I was always taking either migraine meds or a lot of Advil for that. And I just like dealt with that for, again, these same 15 years. But then when I got off the Effexor, and then later when I got off the Wellbutrin, I was just like, I'm on a roll at this point. We're just gonna get off of everything and see what happens. So I got off the Synthroid and the sucralfate, which was for the bile reflux disease. Neither one of those things came back, and my thyroid levels are totally normal now. Um, and then the last issue that is still kind of a thing is just that like gut health has been an absolute nightmare to get back. And I mean, again, when you look at this, these drugs have a huge impact on your gut. Plus, I mean, I was on antibiotics for acne at some point, right? That'll kill your gut. And so many years, I think, of that damage has made it pretty challenging to get my gut back on track. Like it's doing better now with a lot of very expensive like medical help and supplements and testing and all that, but and kimchi. But yeah, that's it. I mean, that's it. And then the other thing too that's really interesting, and I'm so fascinated about the autoimmune stuff and the trigger, because I actually in withdrawal developed something called nodular vasculitis, which is an autoimmune response to, it's like inflamed blood vessels. So I had all these weird little bumps all over my skin and like patchy discoloration that they thought was lupus, but that's hard to diagnose. And then when they actually did a sample of it, it was just my blood vessels were all so inflamed that they like puffed up. And that's a autoimmune response associated with tuberculosis of all things, as a
Wow.
stress response from getting off these drugs.
Okay, so I've been really interested. Um, and this is all like there isn't any, this is completely new, right? People
Mm-hmm.
didn't even know antidepressants cause withdrawal. Um, I've wondered from watching what happened to my dad which was just like the worst. I thought my antidepressant withdrawal was bad. And then I watched him, and that experience was worse
Yeah.
than like my antidepressant. It was so bad. Um, where was I going with that? Okay, but it looks like a lot of the symptoms that you get from antidepressant withdrawal or benzodiazepine withdrawal mimic like nerve damage,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, how can you have lights hurt and sounds? I still
Yeah.
have issues with like certain sounds being
Me
like, ugh.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normal people, I don't think have like, hey, that sound hurts. Sounds aren't supposed to hurt,
And
right?
like you said, it actually hurts. Like I can't explain how it hurts, but somehow it's like it's not just uncomfortable. It's not just like, oh, like let me go to another room. It
Like scratches your brain a little.
yeah, and I
Like,
feel
I
like in
don't
my
know.
bones in a weird way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, I'm not sure. Other than, I mean, obviously, we don't know. We don't even really know how antidepressants work, so we sure as hell don't know how antidepressant withdrawal works. But like, I just think they just must have such an intense effect on the neurobiology and your whole system. And I mean, like, what is it? 90% of serotonin is created in the gut, and
Just in the
these
gut.
are
Yeah.
SSRIs, so they are selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So they're
Well, also
affecting stuff everywhere.
theoretically, right? Like
Mhm.
marketed as selective
Yeah.
serotonin reuptake inhibitors. I don't think they actually know how they work.
No, they don't.
Like,
They have theories, yeah. But they definitely don't act on just one thing because like
no.
such a complex system, even if something does act on one thing, your entire body has to react and readjust, right? So, I mean, my completely unscientific theory is that, yes, they they blunt emotional pain, they numb the edges of both good and bad experience. They also numbed all of my physical experiences as well. And that's what I was kind of describing when that first moment when it was like the cellophane was lifted off my body for the first time and all my
Yeah.
senses and nerves were like lit up, either some really fun ways, like color got brighter, like literally
Oh my
color got
gosh.
brighter.
My color got brighter for me too. I was like, that's what red looks like?
Yeah. And if you've been on these since you were a kid, like you just
Yeah.
don't have any frame of reference for what red looks like. And so that was great. I like that my world is more colorful now, but then there was the actual like physical pain. Like I couldn't wear clothes. I struggled to wear clothes because it just felt like scratchy daggers from the fibers. But who knew that was going to be connected? I didn't. We told
Yeah.
me.
Oh,
Still don't
that's
really
so
know why.
interesting. Yeah. No, I had the same thing. I wore rayon for a really long time when I
Yeah.
was in like acute.
Me too.
Yeah, rayon's nice and soft.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then as soon
That's
as like
so
I've washed it a
strange.
few times, I'm like, oh, this one's
Uh,
gotta go. Can't wear it. Still walking
wow.
around like this.
That's so awful. That's so awful. And I'm sure there's so many people. Like, I can remember when I was on them, and I took them religiously at night for like over a decade. But when I was in university, I got quite a bit sicker. I got more mentally ill. My diet also just went to complete shit. I was drinking all the time. And there was a day or two, like one time I got switched from Cipralex, which is an SSRI, and I was like, this is not working. Like, I'm on fire. Like, this isn't working. I need something else. I need more. And I got put on an SNRI, and I can't remember what the SNRI was called because I took it for 2 days, and they just added it in, and I was like, oh, I just wanted to like just punch holes in walls all the time. I was like, that's got to go. That didn't work. Never mind. I'll just go back to what I'm doing. But no, I'm incredibly grateful that I stopped taking them.
Yeah. Well, and
Even
who
the
knows what that
cold
was,
turkey,
right?
yeah.
That could have been withdrawal effects that you started to experience, and then they put an SNRI in there, but you were still experiencing withdrawal from the SSRI.
Oh, for
And then
sure.
who knows what's what, right? Happens all the
Yeah.
time.
No, it's crazy. And I'm also grateful that I avoided like when I started experiencing antidepressant withdrawal, this is before dad stopped taking his. I went out for dinner with my mom and dad, and they're just like, how do you feel? And I just like bawled. And I'm not like, I'm not a crier. It was just like, I was in the middle of a horror movie. It was terrifying. And I just like bawled, and I sat down and I was like trying to, order my food and make sure that it didn't have any of these foods that were like making the autoimmune symptoms worse. And I was just like teary and weepy. And my parents were like, whoa,
Yeah.
maybe you should start taking those again. Like, this
Right.
doesn't look good. And I was just like, Absolutely
Yeah.
not. I am never taking anything again." Like, and I didn't even know, I think a couple years in, I realized even when I started taking, like, okay, I'd take an antihistamine. I can't take
Mhm.
antihistamines. I get like severe side effects from antihistamines. I can't take anything anymore without getting extreme side effects. Tylenol sometimes is okay. That's about it.